For it. Okay, we are live. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us, Wesley Burwell. My name is Jennifer Waters. I am an acupuncturist and light therapist. I've been working in the field for a long time, and I've known Wes for, it feels like, forever. This is part of what I call intelligent aging, which is a series of conversations and information sharing on how we age, how to improve the quality of our life. I'm not convinced that we can actually extend our life. That's another conversation for another time. But I'm sure that we can improve the quality of our life. So that's what I'm interested in. Wesley Burwell has been known as a thought-provoking educator. I would have to concur that that is true. And a leader really in the field of light internationally. Wes, you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I know a lot of smart people in the field of light, health, healing. There's nothing that you really don't know and haven't mastered. So thank you for your time today. Although today I do want to focus on LED light because that's primarily what most people have access to. I know that you have a background in laser, cold laser, scalar waves, bioenergetic medicine, quantum biofeedback, detoxification practices, and probably a whole lot more. So thank you, Wes. Today I want to talk about mitochondrial health. Everybody has been hearing about it. And maybe you can share with us why the mitochondria are important and what we can do to improve our cells.
Sure. Light therapy plays very much hand in hand with ATP production, and it directly has an impact because the mitochondrial cells themselves, and let's back up a little bit. When you're at the age of 21, you have approximately 2,500 mitochondria, these little energy producing factories inside the cell. And of course, as we age, they slowly start to, as the cells replicate, we start losing those. And so, of course, our ability to produce, if the factories are slowly diminishing over time, and of course, this can be due to lifestyle, environmental exposures, things such as that, like heavy metals, different types of toxicities, Wi-Fi, all of these different things have a direct correlation and effect to proper cell replication and maintaining these. Now, of course, nutrition is a big piece, but a lot of cases as we age, we also lose the ability to produce certain enzymes. And that's where the decline really starts to show up because our nitric oxide production levels actually, at the age of 20, we've got everything we need. But as we, by the age of 40, you're only producing 50% of that. And it's usually directly correlated to the body's inability to produce the enzymes to put it into action. What I love about light therapy is as soon as you put it on the tissue, it actually directly supports the body's ability to produce those enzymes and activate the production and release of nitric oxide. And of course, this lends well to the whole mitochondrial function because nitric oxide is kind of an inhibitor. It sits inside, it can be inside the cells, and it acts like a cement block, in essence, on the brake pedal of the mitochondria. So it slows it down so it's not overproducing and letting the cell go crazy. So nitric oxide inhibits the production of it. But when we put lights on it, it activates the mitochondrial membrane and it ejects the nitric oxide out of the cell. And when it does that, now the cell, you just pretty much put the flywheel back on the factory, and the light exposure itself dramatically increases the mitochondrial membrane potential. Now you get a rapid cycling of all of the proper nutrients, oxygen, glucose, what have you, to come in and produce this ATP. And studies have shown it actually increases ATP production by up to from 150 to 200%. Now that margin is variable due to the fact that different cells respond at different rates and functionality. If I put it on a liver cell, it's instantaneous. It just automatically jumps up and starts producing around 200%. I put it on muscle cell, we've got to leave it on for approximately 10 to 15 minutes, and then the cell starts to wake up and really start to produce it. So light therapy doesn't care what you ate that day. It's a direct impact and effect. Now, if you happen to have the proper nutrition on hand, that just is icing on the cake to put the whole wheels into motion and keep the reactive oxygen species, which is kind of what do you call it? Antioxidant effect, you can utilize it and it protects the cell due to the whole mechanism of action.
Yeah, interesting. So, in the field of fertility, a lot of folks that are going to be watching this are struggling with fertility. The way I understand it is that there is more mitochondria in the egg cells, the cells that are creating eggs in the ovaries. There's actually more mitochondria in those cells. So light therapy would be more indicated if you are looking to prepare for an egg retrieval or optimize your egg quality.
Yes, very much so. They're the more dense with mitochondria they are, obviously, the more accessibility with light therapy to activate and produce. And of course, that shows up in a very healthy egg cell and its ability to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of folks are talking about using things like alpha lipoic acid, supplementing to improve egg, mitochondrial health and egg quality. What would you see as the downside of that?
Well, as I said, nutrition is great, but a lot of cases it can be severely compromised because, of course, if they've got something like passive leaky gut going on, and the digestive system's not breaking the macronutrients down into micronutrients so the body can, get access to them on a cellular basis, because the vascular system will bring it to the porch, but doesn't necessarily guarantee it's going to get in. So using light therapy also has a direct impact in allowing the cell to transact to bring these nutrients in and activate them. And in some cases, even to help clear the terrain, because lack of circulation as we age is just a factor that's occurring. You've got to open that up. And of course, the whole production of nitric oxide, when the light hits the blood cells, it activates the release and production of nitric oxide from the actual hemoglobin and myoglobin. So the endothelial wall, which is the inside of the blood vessels, as soon as it comes into contact, once again, it's an inhibitor. So it inhibits the muscular contraction and relaxes the vessel wall. So now you've got an increase because the diameter can increase up to almost 60%, if not more. So now you got better blood flow, bringing oxygen and nutrients to the porch. And then you also have the ability for the local tissue to remove the carbon dioxide and the metabolic waste products. So it facilitates and opens up all the highways for transaction, but also right at point of function and point of use. So if the nutrients are there, then obviously the body can utilize those. But in some cases, certain things can actually, from a nutritional factor, can actually slow things down. Like with alpha lipoic acid, as you mentioned, if you look into the research, you'll find it actually acts like a wet blanket on chemical reactions. Now, it creates a bit of an antioxidant effect, but it's slowing down things. Light is kind of the ultimate adaptogen because it will bring it up if cells are under functioning, and if they're over functioning, it will bring them back down because it's having a direct impact on the pH level of the local tissue and every place that the light is activating. So it's helping to normalize it. And this is why it's so fantastic when you put lights on kidneys. Like I've worked with people who are in kidney failure, and just putting the lights on 1-2 times, it brought them completely out, and they were walking out of the hospital in less than 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. So back to the ovaries just for a moment. I know you don't have any, but I know you've worked on a lot of fertility patients. So
well, I've helped a lot of women get pregnant, but I say that loosely.
Exactly. So, there's this, what we call another person called the follicle fallacy. And we think more follicles are better when you're preparing to do an egg retrieval in particular. And we know that's not the case because we're going for quality. We want quality eggs and they create quality embryos. So if somebody was, though, looking to enhance follicle production, how would light help that?
Well, one of the key things you can do just by placing it on the actual glands themselves, from the thyroid right on down, the adrenals, the pancreas, as well as the ovaries, or in the case of men, testicles. So let's talk about that for a second. Just light exposure for the male part of things, you can actually increase just by exposing the testicles to red and infrared light. You can boost testosterone levels up to 250%. And that's where it starts. For some people, it's even higher, depending on nutritional factors, age.
How long would that last? Let's say we boost them within that 20-minute period. Do they stay up there?
Well, once again, everyone's different. You boost it up. And of course, based on their metabolic function, how long that lasts and how well it gets incorporated and put in is, the key factor. But by putting and exposing all of the different glands to light, especially the thyroid, because in my practice, I found that the thyroid has a direct correlation with the ovaries. So it's almost like a teeter-totter relationship. If the thyroid is over functioning, then the ovaries are under functioning. So they're not going to produce as well. So if we can level that playing field, which light will do by exposing both, it has a fantastic effect. And then, of course, addressing all of the glands, getting them to detox, clear themselves out, get proper drainage from those organs or those glands. Then we can facilitate. And of course, giving a little love to the liver, which is its job is to break down the cholesterol to feed all the primary pieces that every one of these glands need to produce hormones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've noticed that the thyroid ovarian connection, the tissue seems to be equally vulnerable to things like heavy metals, other environmental toxins, endogenous hormonal toxins, and easier to access the thyroid though than the ovaries on most women.
Yeah, exactly. But using the red infrared light, placing it directly over that area, you can still have a significant effect directly in the ovaries, but you'll get that teeter-totter to level out. Even if you're just addressing the ovaries, it's going to have great implications to your thyroid.
That's great. I love that. Fix one thing and the whole system is improved. It really does make a lot of sense. Okay, so just back to really quickly, I know our time is almost up. So somebody comes in, they have a lot of oxidative stress, they have other symptoms. We assume on a cellular level, their mitochondria is under functioning from everything we've talked about, heavy metals, other chemicals. They've been on a lot of pharmaceuticals, whatever. So we want to support their cells to start functioning in as short amount of time as possible. We take a system like this, red and near infrared. We shine this directly on the skin. And can you just summarize for us what's happening?
Well, as I mentioned, as the light passes through all the blood traveling through that area, which of course the heart's pumping, because if it stops, it's kind of game over. But as the blood's passing through, the light activates the actual hemoglobin and myoglobin, and it puts it to a higher ionic state, which is thereby how it produces it. So now you've got the ATP production locally for all the tissue, because it's directly interacting with the mitochondria because they're light sensitive cells, chromophores within those cells. So now you've got, through C-cytochrome oxidase, you've got the cells actually kicking out the nitric oxide and starting to produce lots of ATP. So that's activating, but you're also opening up the circulatory paths from the nitric oxide coming off of the blood cells, hitting the endothelium and relaxing the muscles. So better pass through in, but also out. Because what I usually focused on in clinical was people would come in. Of course, the heart beats and has a lot of pressure. It's pushing things into the area. But if you're contracted from stress, subluxations can interfere. We need to kind of get things moving, because the body, from a lymphatic perspective, can become like a stagnant pond. When we increase the circulation, we start to get those things moving. And as they start to move, all the lights in the factory start to turn back on, because all the toxicities, in essence, are putting the body into a brownout state. So getting that circulatory pathways open, your primary lymph nodes and what have you, that now allows, all of the stuff that's backed up in the system to start cycling and be produced. We can boost the liver and the kidneys to help, through the emunctory glands, get rid of that, or emunctory organs. So in clearing that and getting the whole thing going, that's what brings, fresh blood supply into the ovaries, the thyroid, all of these things. They cleanse themselves, and the person just goes back to their best genetic potential.
Hmm.
Really that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So what do you recommend? Because I've been doing a lot of this clinically also, and then people have a Herxheimer reaction if they have a lot of toxins and they feel worse after because we stir things up a lot with light. What do you recommend that we do? There's a lot of different binders out there, but what do you do in your clinical practice to help people kind of mitigate the Herxheimer reaction?
Well, I've developed strategic approaches utilizing the light, and hence that's why I focus on the actual lymphatic system first. So
Mm-hmm.
someone who's very, gone into almost a degenerative state, you have to be a little bit cautious. You just use the lights on them, but you use it on the key lymphatic points, and you just do it for shorter time periods. And as things start to get going, you're also releasing the body so it can start to take on hydration. And so you can usually directly control that. Now, if they've got a lot of heavy metals and things such as that, there's other chelation agents, soft chelation agents you can utilize. Obviously getting some type of glutathione is also going to assist the liver to be able to, tag the toxins and then push them up. I use a soft cheler called Advanced TRS, and it binds to anything with a strong positive charge. Very subtle. I use it a lot with kids with ADD, ADHD, even autism. And it's very soft, subtle, gentle, and it protects the kidneys upon exit. Gets in the body, does, 4.5 hours, it's in and it's out. And it's great. It has no taste, no flavor, so you can put it in anything.
Nice. Okay, good. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a multitude depending on what level. Like, a lot of people will use cilantro extract, which will bind to free. There's a whole host of different algae that you can actually utilize as well.
Yeah.
But for the core part, I prefer to supplement less and use light more, just because it's activating the normal mechanisms of the physical body. And so light therapy also creates and activates a neuroprotective effect. They did a study where they actually had 2 petri dishes of cells. They put a titration of cyanide into into both of them. But previous to that, they lit up the one petri dish with red and infrared light, and then they put the stuff in. Well, of course, the petri dish which wasn't lit up, it pretty much all the cells died. 50% of the cells, when the one that was lit up first, actually survived. So from a toxicity perspective, let's hope you never come across cyanide. But that's the worst case scenario. And light therapy created that cellular protective mechanism with not even the nervous system. So that's how awesome light can keep the ATP functioning and stop the cell from suffocating.
Wow.
Even when there's something that deadly.
What is the minimum amount, just into protocols here for a second, what would you say is the minimum amount of frequency that somebody should be using light to have that neuroprotective ability?
Well, it happens the first time you put it on. Now, the question is how deep is it going? And the thing is, when you kind of start on the surface, your first session, you're going to help clear everything that's under that, further into the body. But it's interesting, the body's relationship with light, because healthy cells will go up to their best function from a genetic perspective. And then if you continue to radiate that in sessions thereafter, the light will pretty much wash around those cells, kind of like water off a duck. And so it sends it further in to assist the other cells. So it's very unique in how the light will actually continue to go deeper and assist the body to cleanse itself and normalize. Right. So even 5 minutes on a skin issue. Yeah,
it's a miracle. I've been involved for, at least 15 years now, and I'm still amazed every single day. I use, just so folks know, this is what we're talking about. I work with the in-light therapy system. It's the system that Dr. Kiltz also endorses, and we have it at CNY Fertility and Healing Arts, available for everybody. It is neoprene pads with red and near infrared diodes put in there. It's very easy to use. You press start and that's it. You put the pads on and they start working. And it's amazing. So you can find me online, jenniferwaters.net. I'm easy to find. You can also reach out to Wesley Burwell directly through Awakenings Wellness is his connection. What is your web email address, Wes?
It's awakeningswellness@outlook.com.
At outlook.com. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wes, for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes. Anything else you'd like to say?
I could talk for hours.
That I
know. and how it can support the body with so many symptoms and conditions, but obviously we don't have time for that.
Right. Next time.
Yes.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care.